A Los Angeles judge has ruled that former NFL player Jonathan Martin should stand trial for disturbing and threatening Instagram posts. He shared it last year. It said when you're a bully victim and a coward, your options are suicide or revenge. He tagged his former high school, Harvard Westlake, former classmates, and former NFL teammates. The post caused the high school in Studio City and its middle school in Holmby Hills to close. The LA Times reports there's enough evidence to have Martin stand trial on 3 felony counts of making criminal threats and 1 misdemeanor count of carrying a loaded firearm in public.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Does this plot sound familiar? Most people will hear this and they'll think to themselves, well, this is a good thing, because this guy could have went and shot his school or done something like that, and we got to prevent these types of things from happening. This is only about one thing, and that is taking away freedom of speech, 1984, or you might want to call it Minority Report, because pre-crime is now a thing. This is going on in China, and this will be going on in America.
Forgot my glasses. I know how blind I am without them.
Oh, don't cry.
Look at me. Look at me. Positive for Howard Marks. Mr. Marks, by mandate of the District of Columbia Pre-Crime Division, I'm placing you under arrest for the future murder of Sarah Marks and Donald Dubin that was to take place today, April 22nd, at 0800 hours, 4 minutes.
No, I didn't do anything.
No longer will you be innocent until proven guilty. If somebody suspects you of being a criminal, these dumbed-down masses are going to go along with it. People like you and me, even for questioning some of these events that occur, we're going to be castrated. We're going to be thrown in jail. We're going to lose our right to speak. And that's what this is about. Now, Jonathan Martin is a football player, ex-football player. He was involved in, these, really it was, in my opinion, it was fake news. He was getting bullied by another football player or some nonsense. Ended up out of the league. And as you see from that tweet, that's the big controversial tweet that he had a picture of a gun and then he tagged people in it. Now, aren't we led to believe that these people who go to Stanford and these Ivy League schools are supposed to be so bright and so smart? You could probably find somebody on the streets and go up to them and say, hey, could you post this? And then, aim it at somebody and put, the at in their name. And they'd say, no, I'm not doing that. That's a threat. That's what should raise people's eyebrows about this entire thing, is that you can't possibly be that stupid to post something like that. Now, there's a reason the story hasn't gone away, and there's a reason, like I've said many times over, that you constantly are hearing these stories about athletes and celebrities and past things that they've tweeted, right? Now we just heard it with Kevin Hart tweeting out, homophobic comments. We see other athletes, they dig up their tweets from 5 years ago, and then they get crucified in the media for saying something. There's a reason that this is headline story. Remember, I always tell you guys who are new to this, or even if you're not, even if you're somebody who is awake, but you might just focus on certain areas, anytime you see any headline repetitively, such as these things with the tweets, you know that it's for an agenda, and the agenda is to remove free speech. Now, there's going to be idiots out there who think that this is a good thing because they're so stupid, and they're hypocrites. We live in a society of hypocrites and pretty much the dumbest generation of people that have ever lived. Now, this is no different than when they talk about some of these events that occur at these schools, these, shooting type events. This is no different than them saying, well, if you saw the warning signs, why didn't you call the police and do something, right? So if you call the police and you say, that kid was really weird, I thought he might do something, and then they go and they see that he wasn't going to do anything, or maybe they don't find anything at all, then they say, well, you're wasting the police our time. You wasted our time. You clearly have a vendetta against the kid, or you're judging him based on how he looks, right? Because nobody can predict this type of stuff. Actually, you can. You could just, study your government and the CIA because they're the ones who create it. right? So people would say, oh, we should have called. When an event happens, they go, you should have called, you should have told somebody. But then when nothing happens, right, and somebody calls the police and complains and says this, the police say, stop wasting our time, right? So it's a hypocritical society. But the thought of pre-crime is absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that people are going to be okay with this just shows you how dumb they are. They don't realize what this is setting up. Just watch 1984. Just watch, how free speech is taken away. How we are completely under the thumb of our government. Okay, so this guy we're supposed to believe, Jonathan Martin, is so stupid. A guy who goes to Stanford, where we're supposed to believe that these guys are so intelligent because it's an Ivy League school, that he would post a picture of a gun and then he would tweet the picture at his old school and then hashtag the words, revenge and stuff like that. I mean, you couldn't find more things that, anything that looks more staged than stuff like this. Now, I've talked about it before, and off the top of my head, I can't remember the secret society, but I've talked about Skull and Bones. I've talked about the secret societies at all these Ivy League schools because this is really where they do their heavy recruiting at these Ivy League universities. Yale doesn't just have Skull and Bones. They have, is it Scroll and Key, Scroll and Lock, and Wolf's Head? They have many. They have 3. Yale has 3 specific, high-ranking secret societies, but all the Ivy League schools do. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jonathan Martin was a member of one of these, or whichever the elite the elite fraternity or fraternal order was there. Because remember, these guys do the bidding that they're asked to do. If they have to sacrifice their careers, they sacrifice it. The brotherhood comes before anything. That's what Masons are taught. That's what all these people in these secret societies are taught. That, they take a vow of obedience and a vow of silence, and it doesn't matter. They don't let their ego get in the way. They don't go, no, but I want to be looked at by everyone in the world this way. They're rewarded handsomely for doing this stuff. Like I said in previous videos, the Me Too movement, all the men who have had their names run through the dirt. There's a reason that none of them have fought it. None of them have gone to court, right? Instead of people going, how come 50 guys got called out from 1970, like Dustin Hoffman, and none of them are fighting against it? Because they're taking their orders. That's why. Any regular person would fight against it. They probably wouldn't even remember, sexually harassing somebody 50 years ago. Okay? I'm not talking about assault. I'm talking about harassment, saying something, Putting your hand on someone's shoulder now, is sexual harassment. So what's happening now is the tweet that this guy put out, he is going to trial over a threatening post. And this is a huge thing. Because this is going to set a precedent for them, for our government being able to monitor our posts and things like that. And I know, stuff has happened before where people on Facebook have written stuff about the president and things like that. But this is, more on the lines of now you're getting into speculation. Now all you have to do is just post a picture, say revenge, and then, tag it at your school or somebody you don't like. Okay? And then you go to trial, and then you could get thrown in jail because they're going to just assume that you were going to go and do one of those things. All right? And this is how free speech gets stripped. But unfortunately, like I said earlier, we live in such a stupid society. People are going to think that this is a way for our society to progress because they don't even understand what freedom of speech is like. Try go living in another country where they don't have free speech because they don't in some other countries. Everybody here takes it for granted. And now you have all these people attacking people like myself and saying it's hate speech and we shouldn't be allowed to talk. They don't realize that that's what they want. Even people who don't agree with me or like my channel, that's what they want you to do. And then eventually they're going to turn on you too because they're going to create these laws and you're going to think they're there to protect you and to go against people like me. And then in reality, all of a sudden you're going to be stripped of these rights. And then you're going to be pissed off at the government. It's going to be too late. Because people weren't thinking. They were, reacting and being passionate about things that they don't even know what they're talking about because the television is getting everybody all worked up about this stuff and turning everyone into a pansy. Okay, so the tweet the guy sent out says, when you're a bully victim and a coward, your options are suicide or revenge. Okay? And you're supposed to believe, what if he was like, oh, I was doing stand-up, I was doing some type of extreme edgy comedy, right? I mean, think about it. People joke about all types of stuff all the time. So his lawyer argued that the post was not specific enough to constitute a criminal threat. It does say suicide or revenge. It does not sound equivocal on its face. However, on the photo, there are 19 shells. Suicide would take one shot. So 19 shells is a mass shooting, killing more than one person, revenge. I think that's unequivocal enough to be a criminal threat. So they're just going to base it because the photo that he happened to use has 19 bullets. I mean, think about how ridiculous all this is. You know? And sadly, like I said, there's going to be idiots who go, well, thankfully they stopped a school shooting, because they don't realize that, you know, all of these events and stuff are all created by Central Intelligence. There's a reason that they do it. It's to strip our Constitution. It's to strip our rights. One by one, they're going away. And it's not just because they're forcing it on us. It's because they've brainwashed our society into accepting it and agreeing with it. People out there want this to happen because they get all worked up about people like me. People out there want, you know, everyone's guns taken away because they get worked up by the narrative on the television. People are going to want martial law because they're going to be convinced, because they're already being convinced, that the police are dangerous and they're racist. So we should have our military now. I mean, you know, instead of a police, police. I mean, it's insane, but that's how it works. All this stuff is through mind control. It's psychological operations. So this guy, I believe, is just another puppet, you know, doing his job, doing his bidding to help strip free speech from people. So obviously, in general, we all are careful and smart about what we talk about. At least I know I am. Now I'm a lot more careful about what I talk about. There are certain things you can and can't say on certain platforms. Obviously, it's spreading from YouTube everywhere else. You know, the people leave YouTube, go to other platforms, they're getting censored. I mean, it's the way it is. But people are becoming so used to it because they keep knocking in fake news and hate speech into people's heads through repetition that people are agreeing with this stuff. So just be careful with the stuff that you say, because this is pretty much pre-crime. This is Minority Report, and it's pretty unbelievable that we've gotten to this point in 2019. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.